What's going on, people? This is me, DJPOT with Hip Hop Breath. I got the legendary producer. I don't want to say hip hop producer because you kind of hip hop, R&B, some of everything, man. Well, what's your name?
King Amadeus, man. King Amadeus. Happy to be here. Multi-platinum bad boy hitman producer. Blessed to produce for over 100 artists. J.LO, French Montana, Lil Wayne, Tiger, Jeezy, T.I., Keisha Cole, Fabulous, Remy Ma, Pat Poose, Chris Brown, Trey Songz, Dave East, Young and May, Danity Kane, Day 26. Also, Trey Songz is music director, tour drummer for the last 14 years. Dre's nightclub, #1 nightclub in Las Vegas on the Strip, resident, and now author of my own book, The Story of Amadeus, and the beat goes on. But again, I'm grateful to be here. I appreciate you having me, my brother.
I appreciate you, man. You know, just for taking the time to sit with us, because I know that you have a crazy schedule just by going to your track record. You know, I mean, you don't have a normal schedule.
Absolutely. But I appreciate you guys even wanting to have the conversation and being willing to spread my story amongst, you know, the fans and the followers and the readers, you know, that rock with you guys. So, you know, I'm humbled and grateful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So I'm just going to start about your childhood. You know, what was some of the soundtracks your childhood as far as being from the Bronx? How did you grow up and different things like that?
Absolutely. So growing up in my crib, you know, we had this thing called Clean Up Saturdays, and you couldn't do, and I know you can relate, you couldn't do nothing until the crib was spick and span, you know, so that was a must, and that happened every Saturday. And the fun part about it was that, you know, both parents were music lovers, both my mom and dad. So one Saturday, you know, you would get whatever is my favorite, my dad's favorite songs. You know, he loved Stevie Wonder, he loved the Bee Gees, he loved Chic, you know what I'm saying? He loved a lot of those old soul R&B artists. And my mom, she Michael Jackson, she Africa Bambaataa, she Grandmaster Flash Furious 5, Grandmaster Melly Mel, Grandmaster Cass, so Salt and Pepper. So it was just like two different worlds that I was being exposed to every Saturday as we cleaned up. So that was what I heard. I fell in love with hip hop. You know, my first cassette tape I bought, you know, was Who's the Man soundtrack, you know, Black Sheep album, Brand Nubian album, Naughty by Nature, just to kind of give you an idea of what I was listening to or started listening to, you know, as a hip hop fan. So that's kind of, you know, where it started for me. And it was difficult because my moms and dad were both very spiritual parents, churchgoers. And again, the music that they listened to was definitely different from the music that I was gravitating towards in regards to the profanity, in regards to the language that was being used. A lot of their music was a lot more cleaner. So that was the issue for them. Like, yeah, the hip hop thing is cool, but you know, it's too much profanity. We don't like what they're talking about, the drugs, the gangs, the violence, all of that. So they tried to keep me away from it. But when you love something, man, it's hard to do that, man. So I used to sneak and have a Walkman under my pillow. And when it was time to go to bed, you know, I'll pull that Walkman out from beneath the pillow and just, you know, listen every night until I fell asleep, man. So that was kind of like how I got started and when I fell in love with music.
I understand. I kind of have the same similar background, you know, to yours as far as like the back then it wasn't Hot 97, it was Kiss FM and BLS.
Absolutely.
You know, so,
I'm so glad you said that. Absolutely, bro.
It was Kiss FM, BLS, Friday,
Red
Saturday
Alert.
nights only. I
Yes,
understand.
sir.
I
Yes,
understand.
sir.
So what got you into making music as far as being a producer, drummer, different things like that?
So the school my mom and dad sent me to was called St. Augustine, School of the Arts. And it was a Catholic school. It was a school, obviously with the name School of the Arts, it had, you know, a lot to do with arts. And they put me in that school. And whether you liked it or not, or whether you wanted to or not, you had to choose a musical instrument. And I remember being absent on the day that we were able to select instruments because I wanted to learn how to play either the saxophone or the trumpet. I thought those instruments were very cool. But I wasn't there that day. Went the following day. The only thing that had slots or spots available was the violin and percussion. You know, now I'm from the Bronx. I don't know if I mentioned that before. I'm from the Bronx. I'm from 169 Washington Avenue, from the hood, the 9. And bad enough, I already had to dress up and wear the slacks and the shirt and the dress and, you know, and the shoes. So I was already being looked at and already was a target. So I was smart enough, though, to think like, damn, if I pick the violin, I'm going to have to walk through the hood dressed up with this violin case in my hand. You know what I'm saying? And ain't none of that cool. So I was like, I don't even know what percussion is, but I'm just gonna go with that. And I chose it. Following day, walked into the classroom to learn that it had everything to do with rhythm, drums, xylophone, bongos, congos, you know, everything just had to do with rhythm. And sat down, teacher kind of went around the room, said, hey, I'm gonna play a beat pattern. I'm gonna see, you know, what I'm working with, who could do what. Sat down after him and was able to play every beat pattern that he played exactly how he played it. And mind you, never had any love for instrumentation, never had any desire to want to be a musician. It was something that to me at that time was forced, because it was like, pick an instrument now, 4th grade, pick an instrument. And once I kind of got that feeling and started playing the beats, and then just my teacher being like excited about it, my classmates being excited about it, the attention that I got from it kind of was like, okay, this is kind of cool, you know? And then slowly but surely it became a love and a passion of mine. Fast forward, you know, now I'm 14, 15 years old, really understanding hip hop, really understanding the process and how it's created and what's what. The beat is the beat, the artist is the artist. And then it was at that point that I was like, yo, this is what I want to do. This is who I want to be. I want to be a producer. I want to be behind the scenes. I want to be responsible for the beats that's behind some of people's favorite songs. And the rest was history after that.
Okay, so from the drums, where did you go after that? Like, to what was your first beat machine or first sampler or first keyboard that, you know,
right,
that was used at the time for you?
When I first realized the itch, again, you know, church was everything for me as a musician, and it's where I learned how to become a musician. It's kind of where I got my spice, my swag, my seasonings, you know, my everything when it comes to just being a musician and a creative person. And definitely want to give a big shout out and rest in peace to my late great pastor and bishop, Bishop Michelle White, who opened up the door for me in her church for me to be a musician and a drummer. And again, that was where it really all came together for me. And I had the pleasure as a little kid to see her son, who's my big brother still to this day, Stephen Soup White. He was the first drummer that I saw live that looked like me. You know what I'm saying? Because in school, they was teaching us all about the different jazz drummers, Dave Weckl, and, you know, all of these different musicians, and they were dope and they were incredible, but they didn't look like me. So once I went to this church, Greater Faith Temple, I was able to see someone who looks like me that was amazing. And in that moment, I'm like, damn, if I practice, if I apply myself, if I really focus on what this is as an instrument and as a musician, maybe one day, you know, I could sound like him. So, you know, like I said, the church really played a key part in me developing as a musician and as a producer. So having saying that, we partnered as producers, you know what I'm saying? And I think the first keyboard we was on was the Ensoniq. I forgot what version it was, but it was an Ensoniq keyboard. It was a workstation, so we was able to create the full track within that keyboard. So that was definitely one of the first keyboards and pieces of equipment that I touched. After that, it was the Roland XB50, which again was another workstation that you was able to program and create full songs in and full tracks in. And rest in peace to my minister of music at that time, Derek Gabo, who actually would let me use and borrow his keyboard whenever I wanted. And I pretty much like mastered his keyboard and brought it back to him and taught him like how to use the keyboard. It was crazy.
Yeah, okay.
But with using the XB50, the challenge I had was the drums in the XB50 weren't drums that was really knocking. So people would like the vibe of the tracks, said the tracks was dope, but the drums wasn't hitting hard enough. And then was like, yo, you heard of the MPC? And I'm like, nah. And it's like, yo, get you an MPC, combine that with the Ensoniq, combine that with the XP50, and I feel like, you know, you'll be out of here, man. So once I got the MPC, that's when everything kind of came together for me sound-wise. And then the placement started coming in.
That's dope. So what was your first placement?
Right here, man. FOXY BROWN. Shout out to the Il Nana. Shout out to FOXY BROWN. It was on the Cradle to the Grave movie and soundtrack. Rest in peace, DMX, who created that opportunity for us all to be a part of that soundtrack. It was actually the title song to the movie and soundtrack, Cradle to the Grave, excuse me. And it was legendary, man, for that to be my first placement and for that to be my first opportunity to really get out there and be put on the scene as a producer, man. It went on, like I said, my first placement earned me my first gold plaque selling 500,000 copies, and
Congrats.
physical copies, not streams,
Yeah.
not iTunes. Like you had to get dressed up, go to the store, wait online, hoping that they ain't sell out and you can actually get you a copy.
Big difference, yes.
Those are the days we come from. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that was my first placement, man. So shout out to FOXY BROWN again. Again, I didn't have no name. I was a little kid that was, young and was running around with beats on a CD, and on a cassette tape, trying to get people to hear what it was that I was creating. And she was the first artist to put me on the map. So forever grateful, to FOXY BROWN.
Bro, that was a big first placement, man. Very huge first placement.
Huge, bro. I'm forever grateful.
Because I know most people start with I don't like to say local artists, but I mean, like the people, they cousin, they mans, they grew up with, they kind of work that circle that kind of go up in steps and steps and steps, Exactly.
And it's, man, when I tell that story, they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, bro, I've definitely put a lot of years in regards to creating my sound and developing as a producer. So it's definitely deserving, but when you hear that that's the first place, when you're like, dude, like that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. Like, and again, I'm grateful for it.
Yeah. So is it safe to say after that was when you realized that you was going to just do this full time, like jump in and go, or kind of do other things too?
Yeah. And even before the placement, like it was just straight music, man. Like it was straight music. My mom wouldn't be too happy about it. My family wouldn't be too happy about it because it was either in the studio making music or at the crib making beats, or it was at church. You know what I'm saying? It was one of the two, but either way, it was music, 24/7. The great thing about the church was, and I'm grateful to my late Bishop and Pastor, Bishop Michelle White, she used to pay us, as musicians. And, that's how I kept my cell phone on. That's how I was able to eat lunch in school, because you had to pay for lunch in school.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Excuse me. So, it's monumental. But when you think about like my mom and now me being an adult, I can understand where she's coming from. But back then I didn't get it. She's like, yeah, you want to do something. You want to go get a job. You want to have to go work because you making this music all day. You running up the electricity bill. You know what I'm saying? And you ain't paying for it. Like you bring food home every now and then. You go food shopping every now and then. You do this, you do that. I'm grateful. But that electricity bill is crazy. So you got to do something about it. So it's definitely a struggle, man. But when you love something and you're passionate about it, it's all you wanted to do. And I'm just grateful that I stuck to it. I'm grateful that I believed in myself and my dreams that I was having at that time, and just knew what I was capable of doing as a creative person, and just kept pushing no matter what. Now everybody's in support. Now everybody believes. Now everybody's like, you did it. But there was a time where, it was just me that was believing.
That's true. So I'm going to go back to you playing the drums, because I see that you playing your drums actually launched into, I don't want to say a bigger thing, but you being the drummer for an iconic singer, Mr. Songz. You know what I mean? How did that go about?
Yo, man, it's crazy because I was already producing. I was kind of doing my thing. Getting at that time when I linked up with Trey, I had the FOXY BROWN record out. I had a Lamo record out. I had a Mike Jones record out. I had a Cameron Dipset joint out of G Unit. So I was kind of like moving around, bubbling a little bit, getting my name out there and notoriety as a producer. And I was doing a record with Mike Jones actually for his second album. And he did like a kind of a joint that he felt he needed an R&B artist on, a male to be specific. And I remember us bouncing around names, trying to figure out who we would get on the song. We mentioned Tyrese, we mentioned Bobby Valentino, we mentioned Amarion, we mentioned Trey Songz, you know what I'm saying, Chris Brown. And for some reason, he decided on Trey. I guess for his sound and the sound that we had was really soulful, real soulful R&B, and Trey's voice we felt was a perfect match. And then to top it all off, Trey was a label mate with him, under Warner, and so the politics of sometimes of artists being cleared to be on a song, to be on a record, it can be a lot. So it just made a lot of sense creatively, but from a business sense too. So we all flew down to Houston, was in the studio getting the record done. In the studio was a drum set, like kind of tucked in the corner, and I saw it and got real hyped, and I'm like, yo, I play drums, and both Trey and Mike kind of looked at me. It was like, huh? Like what? Like
something new to them.
Yeah. I'm like, I play drums, and they're like, you don't play no drums. I'm like, I definitely play drums. Like I'm a producer. Like that's kind of how you know, I kind of got my start as a producer. You think about a producer, you immediately think about the drums and beats. So we went back and forth a little bit. I just kind of left it at that, finished the record, got the record done. Everybody kind of went home. But before we broke out, I'm like, yo, this is Trey with the braids, fresh out, you know, Gotta Make It album. And I'm like, bruh, the music you're making is really soulful. You know, eventually you're gonna need a live band, you know, behind you to really put on a dope show. You know, when you do, you know, reach out, holler at me. I'll put it together for you, right? So we left. A year goes by, you know, I get a call from his manager, you know, shout out to Delonte Murphy, and he's like, yo, bro, you ready to put the band together for Trey? And I'm like, ready to put the band together for Trey? And I was like, no. He's like, nah, bro, you told Trey he's gonna put it together. And he's the type of dude where if you say something, he's gonna hold you to it. And
which is kind of dope. For me, I appreciate that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. And I just, you know, we've been in the game for a long time. So people say things all the time and don't really live up to, you know, what they say and really keep their word. So I kind of just threw it out there. I'm like, he ain't calling nobody. And he called, and I definitely wasn't prepared. And it was a moment of like, damn, what do I do? And I remember calling, you know, my big brother at the time, who was music director for Case and Casey and JoJo and Lila James. So, you know, he was functioning in that music directing thing. And I'm like, let me just call him, bring him on, have him be the music director. I'll be the drummer. We go out and do the thing. And he's like, nah, bro, this is an opportunity for you to grow and to become a music director. And he was like, Trey never had a band together. You know, never had a band before. You never been a music director. It's the perfect thing where both of you guys would be able to, you know, join forces together and learn from the bottom up. And he was like, I'll go out on tour with you. I'll be a keyboard player, but you're going to be the music director. You're going to be the drummer, and you're going to put this thing together, and we're going to rock. Hey, bro, that was over 15 years ago. You know what I'm saying? And we'd have been almost around the entire globe, you know, performing and shutting down stages, man, from Summer Jam to BT Awards to, you know, us opening up for Jay-Z on the Blueprint 3 tour, us opening up for Usher on the OMG tour, opening up for Mariah Carey and MSG, you know, New Year's Eve, you know, so many dope moments. Australia a bunch of times, Africa a bunch of times, Japan, all of Europe, based off of me saying, yo, you need to let me put your band together, not knowing a year later I would get that phone call, man. And like I said, here we are 15 years later.
That's dope. So growing up from the era of hip hop we grew up in, what were some of your key producers that you know, I mean, that you kind of favored the most? Right.
Out of everybody, bro, like I was the biggest Puff Daddy fan ever. Like you couldn't tell me that it was anybody else that was a bigger fan. I just loved everything about dude, like just his swag, you know, his creativity, the artists that he shared with us, from, you know, rest in peace Big, and, you know, Faith Evans and 112 and Mace, and rest in peace Black Rob, and like, you know, just everybody, Total. You know what I'm saying? He just gave us so many different energies and vibes, and I'm just like, yo, I want to be like him one day, and I want to be a part of the Bad Boy Hitman, you know, producers. And so them was definitely on my top 5. Dr. Dre, Timbaland, Swiss, Neptunes, Rodney Jerkins, and I surprise a lot of people when I say Rodney Jerkins, because most people, you know, expect the hip hop producers, and but Rodney Jerkins is one of the coolest, innovative dudes of all time. So definitely Rodney. DJ Premier, so many, Just Blaze, Kanye, they all definitely, you know, inspired me in regards to, you know, production. And there's so many more I can name, but I'll leave it there.
Yeah, because I like so far with the list that you named, they all have a different, unique sound to them. From Rodney Jerkins to DJ, you know what I mean, to which
Primo,
you know, Primo, you know, his thing is scratches and drums.
Yes,
sir. Key thing.
Samples.
Yes, scratches and drums. Yes, and they all have their unique thing.
I haven't been doing this, and I apologize to this legend, RZA, bro. RZA is hands down one of my favorite producers, and honestly, this is the first time of me actually saying it out loud. And I remember going to recently in Vegas a Raekwon and Ghostface show, and dude, I had a time of my life. It was Ghostface, Raekwon, and Jizz, excuse me. And to sit there and hear those records that I listened to as a youngin' on cassette tape, to actually see them perform that live, was the craziest thing I've ever experienced. And in that moment, I'm like, yo, dude, RZA is one of the most influential, creative dudes of all time. And I've always been a fan of Wu-Tang and just that whole movement. And he was always the brains and the creative one, producer-wise, and just all across the board behind that whole movement, man. So I just got to start really giving RZA his roses, bro, because that's a legend, man.
Yes. So fast forward to 2022.
Mm-hmm.
You just put out a book.
Yes, sir.
So what's like the reason behind the book?
It's something that I always wanted to do. Just kind of sharing my story with the world. And it's different ways to do it, obviously. Like, it's not a memoir, it's kind of a book that I really wanted to cater to kids with, younger kids that like 3rd, 4th grade, starting at that age, because that was the time when, I started getting into the creative process of music and becoming a musician. Again, to just inspire them and push them to chase their dreams and live their dreams. That was the whole vision behind the book. When the pandemic hit, and the name of the book, is the story of Amadeus, and the beat goes on. And during the pandemic, it was the perfect opportunity for it because, we had to stay home. We couldn't tour, we couldn't be on the road, we couldn't do shows, we couldn't be in the studio because we were all having to be home to protect ourselves and our loved ones. So we sat, for quite a good amount of time. And even though it was the most challenging time for me mentally, and there was a lot going on, people dying from the pandemic, losing family members, losing friends. I kind of try to focus through the chaos, through the challenges, and was saying, listen, this is the perfect time to get this done. Let's get this done. And I want to give a special thanks to my co-authors, Lynn Hobson and Trina Stackhouse, who I was able to create the book with, because without them, I wouldn't be able to do this. And yeah, man, it's out. I released it in December. It's probably just, becoming a month old. And it's been selling a lot, and I'm super grateful. I'm super thankful to start, really connecting with a lot of principals, to get it in schools, not only where I'm from, but, around the globe as well. And shout out to Principal McKenzie, who just purchased 210 books, for her school out in Las Vegas. Yeah. Wow. So yeah, man, we moving, man. And shout out to the whole OSG movement, Denise McKeezy, who connected me with those principals to be able to get it in those schools. So I'm grateful, man. So like I said, the book is out. I'm not a real big reader, so I kind of had that in mind. So I wanted to make sure that it's straight to the point. It's about 22, 23 pages, pictures on every page. And it's actually me, it's none illustrated. Nothing against illustration, but it's all pictures of me as a kid. And so I had to raid my mom's photo album books. And I snatched a few of them joints up, man. And you can see me in there, with my first drum set, and my first keyboard, and, kind of just seeing the process of how it started from me being, young Amadeus to, Amadeus where I am today.
Yeah, I looked at the pictures, very family-friendly pictures. It's those pictures that your mom definitely want back to put back in a photo album kind of thing. You know what I mean?
She, I don't know, man. We're in a real digital world now with technology. So I kind of like screen, that's how I was able to get it in the book, where I took pictures of them in my phone and sent them to the printing company. So yeah, she has all those pictures on her phone now and don't have to go and digging for those photo albums. I think she might be happy about that.
Yeah, of course. And it seems like you have another venture, motivational speaker.
Yeah.
So like, what made you get into that field?
Always been, before there was a title put on it, I've always been, again, the person that just love to help people, man. Just love to help people, love to encourage people, love to inspire people. It was just a natural thing. Like, we would be on tour in different cities around the world, and I would pull up into the city and I'm like, yo, what school is nearby? You know what I'm saying? Like, let's call up and see if we can, figure out a way for me to go speak to the students or go speak to the kids now that I'm in town for tour. Just, encourage them to be great. You know what I'm saying? So I've always, really done that. And as time went on, I started kind of putting a name behind it and putting the brand. We created a Music 101 college tours, and we'll go around to different colleges and educating them on the music business and behind the scenes and
dope,
all of the different areas. Thank you, man. And all of the different areas that you can work in the music industry besides being an artist, you know, a singer, a songwriter, or producers. There's so many things and so many hats you can wear and be successful in the game. So started off with that. And like I said, everywhere I go, I just have a passion for just helping people. So the more I did it, the more people would say, yo, man, you real motivation, bro. Like you're like a motivational speaker. So, you know, I'm not really one for titles, you know, but it just kind of fit me and I just kind of ran with it, man. And, you know, just accepted and owned it, you know what I mean? And just kind of walking in that title.
Yeah, I got you. Because especially now, when like a lot of artists don't understand the game. They don't understand the business at the back end or the front end. All they know about just going to the booth, rapping or grabbing a beat machine and making a beat. They don't understand the knowledge of, you know, getting the sample cleared, how to be heard, legal side, the contracts of who owns your masters, who owns this and publishing and stuff like that. So that's definitely a big thing, especially like, you know, to all like a new artist or or you know, up and coming artist.
I agree 100%.
Let's talk about your company, Platinum Boy Music.
Yeah, so you know, it really started off as, you know, I remember, I'm gonna tell you a quick story of, you know, first getting placements and needing to create a publishing company underneath ASCAP as the company that I chose. And I was sitting in the office. I was young. I think this was about 2000. Either 2000 or 2001. And I'm sitting in the office, and they're like, "Yeah, you're gonna need a name for your publishing company." And I'm like, "All right, cool." And I was already horrible with names, man. So I'm like sitting in. I'm like, "Well, I want every record that I create to go platinum, and I'm a boy, platinum boy."
Yeah, true.
And that's how the name came about, man. And again, it started off just with me as a producer, you know, and me having my own company and brand as a producer. And then as time went on, it just grew. And, you know, I got other producers to be a part of the company and songwriters, and I had artists at one time. So, you know, that's kind of what it is. And now, you know, it's a brand. You know, when fast forward in today's world and where we are today, 2022, now it's a brand. You know, now instead of being behind the scenes and not being known and seen, now social media exists. And now people can see the face behind the name. So now, you know, Platinum Boy Music is a brand, you know, musician, producer, a production company, you know what I'm saying? Author, publishing company in regards to author, being an author now. So we moving, man, moving and shaking.
Oh, that's dope. So it's kind of just like basically it touches every side.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I had no idea that it would do that, you know, when I was sitting in that office 20 years ago. You know, 22 years ago, actually, and having to come up with a name. I had no idea that it would turn into this, man. So absolutely blessed and grateful, man. It just shows you that hard work pays off. You know, you can do any and everything if you apply yourself and put the work in.
Yes, yes. So out of all the artists you work with, who's your most favorite one, I should say? Well, you don't have to answer because I know, you know what I mean, that can be kind of tricky. Some artists might feel like you might overtake them or, you know what I mean? So you don't have to answer. I'm just kind of curious, you know what I mean?
I'll word it differently. You know, and again, I had an opportunity to work with a lot of artists.
That's why I said a lot,
a lot of artists, excuse me, over 100, man. So when you say pinpoint one, there's so many experiences. Like one, me being from the Bronx, you know, so working with J.LO is legendary for me, being from the Bronx, her being from Castle Hill, me being from Washington Ave, it's like 15 minutes away. And again, it's both the hood. So to see the level of success that she's achieved today, and just knowing she from where I'm from, you know, and was able to, you know, push past diversity and challenges to become great, you know, super inspiration to be able to work alongside her. So J.Lo, Chris Brown, of course, you know, one of the greatest artists of our time, for me to have so much work with him, you know, produced on the Indigo album, produced 9 songs on the Heartbreak on the Full Moon album. The J.Lo record that we did, you know, he wrote it. The Justin Bieber record that I did, he wrote it. You know what I'm saying? The Dave East record, Perfect.
Yeah.
That I created, you know, that we created, he wrote it. So definitely him. Trey Songz, of course, me, that being the artist that I've worked with the most and worked with the longest, just, you know, to create such success with him, alongside him in the touring aspect of things, you know, putting together some of the dope shows and experiences that we've experienced around the world and around the globe, just to see him grow as an artist. You know, I connected with him first album out, and now he has about 5 or 6, 7 albums out, along with mixtapes and different projects.
Yes.
So just to be a part of that whole process is amazing. And you know, it's so many, man. And again, there's no disrespect to anybody, but that's why I decided to mention more experiences and moments.
Yeah, I definitely. Yeah. See,
you know,
I know we don't hesitate to ask questions, but that's what I am, because you don't want to make yourself feel like this artist is more important to that artist.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
They always a part of your career to get into where you at and continue to grow as you get, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I love how you put that in. And again, it's so many different moments, man. And like, even with like FOXY Brown is dear to me because she's the first one to give me a shot and to give me an opportunity to be seen when no one knew who I was. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, so it's again, so many dope moments. I love the question either way. And, you know, shout out and much love to every single artist, you know, that I have the opportunity to work alongside.
All right, so I'm going to ask you this one last question. As me being a DJ, favorite DJ, and are you a fan of like the whole mixtape era, different things like that, you know?
Favorite DJ. Ooh, I love this. Yo, damn.
Okay, so top 5 DJs. I'm gonna say 5.
Okay. So, and I'm gonna go back to like being a youngin' too and kind of incorporate everybody, because DJ Red Alert was one of the first DJs that I heard on the radio. You know what I'm saying? So I would have to mention DJ Red Alert. I would have to mention like DJ Kid Capri and, you know, DJ Ron G.
Yes.
And DJ Doo-Wop. You know what I'm saying?
Iconic mixtape DJs and radio DJs.
Yeah, like, you know, that sold actual tapes that I went and bought for $5. You know what I'm saying? TDK joints and Maxell tapes of like, you know what I mean? Like,
yes,
so I gotta mention them. And then, you know, as time goes on, you touch, you know, the DJ Clue, you know what I'm saying? And DJ Funkmaster Flex.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So you have DJs like that really, you know, molded the sound and had the culture, especially in New York, that did their thing as well. Then you have like, you know, DJ Drama, you know what I'm saying? And the whole, you know what I mean? The Drama series mixtapes, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, so it's so many, bro. Like those are definitely some that, you know, I can remember or mention off top that were very influential to me, you know, in music. And again, there's so many you can name. It's just like producers, there's so many you can name.
Yes.
But there's so many out there that have done great things. So again, salute to you, King, and salute to all of the DJs.
Appreciate that. Around
the world, because we could make the music and create the music, but if no one plays it, you know, we can't be seen and heard. You know what I'm saying? So salute to you and all of the DJs around the world that allow our music and what we create to be heard all across the globe. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna mention this real quick because no one has ever asked me that question. That was a great question. I gotta shout out Funkmaster Flex because Funkmaster Flex was the first person to ever play a record of mine on the radio, which was FOXY Brown, Get Off Me, and it was a diss record against Eve. And if you know, and I know you know, Flex is known for the dropping the bombs.
Yeah, a couple times when it's a hot record.
You know what I'm saying?
Brings it back, play it again.
Exactly, and that was a dope moment for me in regards to like hearing him do that to all of the other artists and songs that I admire. But finally, for that moment to happen for me, you know, as a producer and as a creative person creating a record with FOXY Brown. So I definitely got to show much love to Funkmaster Flex on creating that, you know, legendary first moment for me being played on the radio for me.
I definitely understand that. Appreciate that. So this is your last question. What advice would you give to any new producers or artists that's just coming into the game? Like, you know.
Man, I've been saying this for 20 plus years. It's about being authentic and about being real, you know what I'm saying? And really being true to who they are as a producer, as a musician, as a person. Like knowing who you are as a person, like forget the music for a second, like just knowing who you are and believing in you as a person. I think that's extremely, you know, important, and just giving the world the true you. You know, it's dope to be inspired by, it's dope for people, you know, to move you or to motivate you in regards to what they've done creatively, right? But it's about making sure that you understand who you are and is confident in who you are and give the world the true you as a creative person. We already got a Jay-Z, we already got a, you know, a Big, we already got a Snoop, we already got a Just Blaze, we already got a Kanye, we already got a Diddy, you know, so I got to give him Amadeus. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's only one Amadeus in the world, right? Right? There's other Amadeuses, and much love and much respect to anybody that's using the same name. But when it comes to a producer and it comes to me, like only I have these fingerprints. You know what I'm saying? And that's my superpower. So I think, you know, if they tap into who they really are and appreciate who they really are and being confident of who they are and really put the work in and hustle and do right by people and be humble, you know what I'm saying, through it all. Like, you know, I feel like sky is not the limit, you know what I'm saying? And I say it's not the limit because you can go past it. You know, the fact that they can go to space, you know what I'm saying, just shows you that sky is not the limit, and that's the kind of way that you need to think in order to progress and be successful in life.
That's true. I definitely agree with you, because now, you know, they go to space for 5 minutes and coming right back. You know what I mean? So
Crazy.
Definitely, there is no limit now. You know, that's already gone. People
Big
keep
facts.
going up and going up. I definitely understand.
Big facts. Yes, sir.
So, you know, first of all, I appreciate you. Thank you for giving me your time. You know what I mean? I'm going to keep an ear out for the music, you know.
Yes, sir.
I'm old school. I still buy vinyl. So if I see a vinyl that I like, I still going to still buy vinyl.
Wow, that's fine.
And I'm happy, like some record labels are starting to print vinyl again.
I heard about it. Vinyl and possibly CDs. So that's a great look.
Busta, with his last album, when he did the cassette tapes, I ordered one. Wow. I was like, yeah, this is like I still have all of my cassette tapes, CDs. I still have it all.
Wow, legendary.
Yes,
legendary. But my brother, I appreciate you, man, and just like you thanking me, I thank you. You know, this is definitely a monumental moment. A great conversation. I love the questions that were asked. You know, not questions that I'm used to. You know, you have me thinking a little bit, man. So I appreciate that. You know, just hope that you know the people that enjoy this interview and this conversation, and I definitely feel they will. So thank you, my brother. I appreciate your creativity. Absolutely.